Saturday, November 9th. The mood in the front office is, suffice to say, solemn. But we're not here to talk about our hellhole world melting. We're here to talk about fantasy football. Back doing a pod here, talking about what's going on in the league. And this week is exciting because we're going to be unveiling the power rankings. I went and checked. The last thing I did was with Drew, previewing week 3. We're now moving into week 10. I cannot believe it's been 7 weeks, 7 glorious weeks when it comes to Detroit football. And yeah, I'm a little bit bummed that I haven't been able to give you guys these previews over the last few weeks, but I'm going to try and keep up as we move into the home stretch of the regular season, into the playoffs. So let's get right into it. Let's go to the power rankings. I don't want to disparage any teams on here. That's not my goal, but I don't think there's any surprise where we're starting. We're starting with the Rose City Ravens, who drafted first overall. This has been a dumpster fire of a season for them. I don't really have a good way to gloss over that. Much like their quarterback on a darkness retreat, this has been a season of darkness marred by Crystal McCaffrey's ACLs. Your starting running backs are Jaleel McLaughlin and Agabuwale right now. I mean, yeah, listen, 1-8. They got a D grade back when we were kicking off the season. That was not from me. That was from our panel. So they are nonetheless at the bottom of our power rankings. The good news is, according to the system I have here, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. They are not mathematically eliminated. They are a 0.07, which dropped slightly after last week, but there is still a chance. And if my Detroit Tigers can spin it around and get into the baseball playoffs, who knows what could happen with Porter and Caleb. Moving up to number 11, also was given a D, none other than the Studio City Cavalry. About a 10% chance to make the playoffs, according to the system here. Right now, they're at 3-6. Against the whole league, they would have beat about 36% of the league on their matches as a whole, which, is not great. So, yeah, tough year for these guys as well. They've been active. They have a great quarterback. They have a couple great receivers. They have Pittman, who's underperformed. They have Neighbors, who's kind of overperformed, I would say, in the Giants offense, but the results just haven't been there. 10th, we're going to go to the Beanbags. Slightly better against the league, winning 41% of matches on the league whole. Playoff odds right now, let's check on those. Equal odds to Studio City, about 10%, 10.15. These guys drafted 4th overall. They were given a B- in the draft. Josh Allen is your quarterback, but I think it's been more injuries, if I were to guess. I mean, Debo, CeeDee Lamb, both have been kind of banged up. I feel like Connor and Jones have both been productive. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it definitely feels like maybe they've been a little hard done. Next up, the number 9 team, the Fighting Capybaras, LAFC, C+ grade. Thought it was harsh when it was given. A lot of people really liked this draft coming out. That was a lot of people were really high on So Young's draft. And I think it's been kind of a weird season. Puka has been hurt. Goff has been unbelievably efficient, but not a huge number monster. I think like the big hitters haven't been hitting for them as much. Playoff odds, same, about 10%. This is not what they are accustomed to. So I would say both them and the Bags are in some deep trouble here, trying to crawl out of this hole. Next up, number 8, Bay State Breakers. These guys, they're winning about 46.5% against the rest of the league. We're past, I think, the lower tier now. This is more like mid-tier. I wouldn't qualify them as a contender, but I would say that they are in the mix. if that makes sense. Playoff odds, big jump. 65% chance to get into the playoffs. I'm not making these numbers up. They are through different sites that I'm using to calculate these things. I mean, he's got Porter and Caleb this week, but, you know, can Herbert come through? Can Keenan Allen come alive? Can Breece Hall continue to produce? Bucky Irving? There's a lot of question marks. I really like Bo Nix. Obviously, you've got Walker in there and Andrews. There's talent here. This is a playoff team. So number 7, Yankees. Winning about half their games against the rest of the league as it stands right now. Overall, I've liked this team. They got a B straight up in the draft. They've had the biggest scoring week. Week 8, they had 203 points, which not very many teams have been able to produce those kinds of big numbers. So they are a potent team when they can be at number 7. Number 6, I feel like this is a little low. South LA Jabronis. Javi, again, he is a much higher number at 90.16% to make the playoffs. Way more than Drew at 65, but in the same tier according to this site. So they're right in the middle, kind of sitting there. Javi had a B+ draft grade. Really, his team has been strong this year and maybe just a little inconsistent. Jaden Daniels, like, are you kidding me? That guy, Jamar Chase, not doing everything, but can now maybe starting to find form, and, you know, some other inconsistencies in terms of Pitts, Flowers, those types of guys. But I like Javi's roster. I like where it's going. I think he's going to continue to ascend in the power rankings. Number 5, Florida man. He had the second best draft, drafting out of the last spot, but got an A grade on his draft, winning 58.6% of his games against the entire league. I feel like he's always a danger. I would say the trickiest thing here is what Eric does with his quarterback, Flacco. Starting Jordan Love in the mix, had to drop an AR. There's a question mark at their quarterback position. Will be interesting to see. They're about at 90% to make the playoffs as well. Number 4, the West Adams Wolfpack have had a weird year. Tyreek Hill being the biggest fucking pain in the ass a fantasy owner has ever experienced, but T. Higgins not playing a lot, Kupp being hurt. The receiving depth has been tricky, and I would say the quarterback situation has also been tricky for us. So right now it says we're a 65% chance to make the playoffs. Moving up to number 3, the Sherwood Forest Turkeys, aka Riyadh season. This is what's strange. So they were given a very low D+ on draft day, drafting out of the number 2 spot, right? Number 2 overall, and they're given a D+. The sites didn't like them. Right now, they are number 3 overall in our power rankings, winning over 61% of their games against the league. Now, here's what's really strange. They have a 33% chance to make the playoffs. I don't understand that. So we'll see where that goes. And then we're in the top 2. And this feels a little strange given where the standings sit currently. But Mr. I at 7-2 is actually the second team here in the power rankings. I think it might come down to the 66% win against the league as one of the metrics, and a 98.36% chance to make the playoffs. Dave is killing it. Look out for Dave going for ship number 2. And then number 1 overall is the Kraken, the Seattle Kraken Hart. Man, 72% win rate against the rest of the league. Strong year so far for Hart. 90.16% chance to make the playoffs. I think you could argue Seattle or Mr. I could be in that top tier. I will say Hart has played a harder schedule. Number 4 in terms of strength of schedule versus Mr. I at number 10. Some interesting things to note here. Top 3 in terms of the strength of schedule. The Bags have played the hardest schedule. Capybaras have played the second hardest, and the Sherwood Forest Turkeys have played the third hardest. So interesting things to note there for sure. So here we go. Week 10 preview. Jumping right in. Miami. All time, we're 4-4 against each other, so I'm looking forward to this one. I feel like West Adams has a little bit of an advantage with Flacco and the quarterback situation, although Kyler Murray could shit the bed at any moment, so that's great. Last time we played, it was a win for me. I'm hoping to keep it that way. So we'll see where that goes. Matchup number 2. Bay-State gets a much-needed, I wouldn't call it a bye week, but they get a nice matchup against the Rose City Ravens. 2-1 all-time, won their last 2, and looking forward to keeping that going. Porter and Caleb trying to keep that 0.07% chance to make the playoffs alive. Mr. I against the Yankees. This is a great game. What's really funny is that the Yankees have never lost to Mr. I. And you could argue this is a really important game for both teams. And we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to make any predictions, but I do feel that this might be the week that Mr. I gets his first win against Drew and the Yankees. Next up, LA Fighting Capybaras. So Young takes on Chris and the Sherwood Forest Turkeys. 13 matchups all time between these two teams, and the last one went to So Young, but it's pretty even. 7-6. She's 7-6 against him all time. Chris has the chance to even up this series and also prove to the algorithm and the naysayers that they can actually stay in this race and make the playoffs after that sort of shitty prognostication of them actually being able to get in. So we'll see what happens with that. Next up, Bags taking on the Jabronis. Not as many matchups here. 3 all-time. South LA won the last one by a good margin, 41 points. And the Bags need this. They need a win. They need an upset. I will say this, that I don't think it's going to happen. Jamar Chase dropped almost 56 points in an epic Cincinnati-Baltimore game. So Javi and South LA are set up really, really nicely in this matchup, and could be putting the Bags into a world of hurt, going to 3-7. And then last but not least, Seattle Kraken taking on the Cavalry. 7 matchups all time. Hearts won the last 2 between these guys, and I don't think that is going to change. Right now, they're given a 72% win probability to the Kraken, and Dinsky is in some trouble here. So we'll see what happens in this game and where this goes. So good luck to you guys out there. Gonna keep it brief, short and sweet. Have a great Sunday, guys. Talk to you soon.